Hi everyone, Lex is down for a nap and I wanted to try to record a quick video about kind of frustrations or disappointments and stuff that I'm dealing with now, more or less as a result of what we are going through now with Eric, my husband's diagnosis of leukemia. So if you don't know kind of the backstory of this, he was diagnosed at the end of, or towards the end of April with ALL, which is acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and he is in treatment. His treatment will last for 2 years from when he was confirmed to be in complete remission, which was towards the end of May. So we are looking at like May or June of 2016 when he will be done with treatment. He is right now in what's called consolidation. So he had induction treatment, which was about a month in the hospital, and then he moved on to consolidation, which will last until about March, I believe, of next year, and then he'll begin maintenance, which will not be as much, but will then bring us to the 2-year point. So that will be a little over a year of the maintenance treatment. And this was all like super sudden diagnosis. He hadn't been sick. He had been sick he had had like stuff going on for a few weeks, but he had had blood work done and it was all totally normal 3 weeks before he ended up in the hospital with like non-existent immune system, like no red blood cells, no platelets, like not actually none, but they were super, super low. And then got the diagnosis of leukemia. So this was, sudden shock and everything. And I have talked more, like, I was in the middle of Veda when all of this started happening, so there are some vlogs from around when he was diagnosed, if you want to go back and look at those for a little bit more information about what was going on then. But what I want to talk about today, and I don't think that I've talked very much about this in my previous videos, is the repercussions that this diagnosis and the subsequent treatment and everything is having on our plans in general. But right now I want to talk specifically about our plans as far as growing our family. So we have a 14-and-a-half-month-old son, Alexander, who we call Lex, and he's fantastic and great, and we love being parents, and like it's the hardest thing that we have ever done, but we really love it. And our plan, which I feel like we should just stop making plans, because they never seem to work out. And so our plan was to have our kids 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 years apart. We want at least 2. I think what we both are we're both kind of like, we can have, we'll have 2 and then see how that goes, but we probably will end up with 3. So our plan before this diagnosis was that we would start trying, not actively, but like start trying kind of next month. Lex was born at the end of April. I found out I was pregnant the middle to end of August. So like if I were to get pregnant in the next month or so, then they would be about 2 years apart. So like sometime in the next 6 to 9 months, I would want to get pregnant, to have them spaced the way that we would initially had wanted them. But now Eric has leukemia and is on chemotherapy, and our plans are having to shift and change because of that. So basically, let me see if I can get this like succinctly laid out. So when he was diagnosed, before he started chemo, he was told that, and they didn't yet know what path of chemo he was going to be on, if he was just going to be on chemo or if he was going to be headed towards getting a transplant, a bone marrow transplant. So they were still waiting on some tests to come back when they told him this, but they told him that it is possible that the treatment could cause infertility for him. So because of that, we had to very quickly make the decision, and he basically made the decision without talking to me, which was totally fine, to bank sperm. So they actually delayed starting his treatment a day so that he would have a chance to get 2 clean samples in, and so that's great. So we have, I'm still waiting to be able to talk with someone at the hospital who is connected with where the sperm, like connected with all of that stuff, to get some questions answered, like how many tries would we have, like all of this kind of stuff, and what the process would be and all of that. But anyway, his treatment should not cause infertility because he is not going to be headed towards a bone marrow transplant, at least in the near future at all. So that's good news. But we would, if we wanted to try to conceive naturally, we would have to wait until 3 months after he is done with all of his chemo. So that means if he's done with all of his chemo in May of 2016, we could start trying in August of 2016. That's 2 years away. So our kids would end up being 4 years apart. So 2016, Lex will be 3.5. So yeah, 4 years apart. Which, if that is what we would need to do, then that is what we would need to do, and you know, we just have to deal with it. But that is not anywhere in our plan of how we wanted to have our kids spaced. I'm sure that kids who are 4 years apart, it's perfectly fine, and there are definitely pros to waiting longer, I think, but we really wanted to have them closer together. So, given that, we have the option of using the banked sperm and going the route of, I believe it would be an IUI, and, you know, doing it that way, which is not my ideal, but, like, that's fine. I'll do that if that's what we need to do, but it has been recommended that we not, and I agree with this, that we not go down that path until he is in maintenance treatment. So that would be, we're looking at like early next spring, which would still be fine. Like they would, you know, we would have kids 2.5, like almost 3 years apart, like 2 years, 9 months to 3 years, depending on how long it took and all of that. So that would be okay, but I'm right now, like all along, this has been one of the hardest things for me to deal with in this whole diagnosis, because it's that control and that, I want to say, like luxury of being able to plan your family that has been taken away from us. And I know that there are so many people who struggle to have kids. And I thankfully did not have any issues conceiving Lex. It took us 2 months, and it was, you know, it was relatively easy. So thankfully we are not also dealing with like other infertility stuff, or we're not dealing with infertility issues in general. But I had kind of taken that for granted, that we could just plan, okay, so we want our kids to be 2 to 2.5 years apart, so we'll start trying this month, and then we'll, you know, in the next 3 months or whatever, probably be pregnant. So I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with, there are quite a few of my mom friends who have kids around Lex's age who are now getting pregnant with their second, and that is a lot harder for me to handle than I thought it would be. I knew that it would be hard, and now I'm like tearing up. I knew that it would be hard because like I want to be in that situation. Like that's what I want to be doing. Not necessarily as fast as they, like I have some friends who their kids will not even be 2 years apart, and that I never imagined myself going down that path. But just I am jealous of them. And it's really frustrating. Like, I'm happy for them too, but I want what they have. And I'm not in any way trying to say that, like, oh, my life is awful and what I'm dealing with is so much worse than other people's and stuff like that. Because I feel like everyone has their own stuff that they're going through, and there is no reason at all for us to try to compare and, say that one person has it worse than another. Because we're all dealing with our own stuff, and it's all so relative to our own experience and how we experience it. But it just sucks. I'm just kind of, there's so many levels of frustration and sadness and disappointment that have gone on in the last 2.5 months, not even 3 months since the diagnosis. And it's just like, I want to get to the point where things are just getting easier instead of still being in this kind of no answers, really, no way to kind of predict how things are going to go over the next 6 months or whatever, and no answers as far as like using the banked sperm goes. So it's just frustrating, and today it's just kind of hitting me hard, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit, and I've now rambled on far longer than I wanted to. So anyway, that's what's going on this morning. Just kind of frustrated and wanting to be pregnant again. I'm not at the point physically where I'm really ready to be pregnant again, but I miss that. Like, I really liked being pregnant. As amazingly hard as it was, I didn't enjoy my labor and delivery, but I so want to do it again. And I, again, as extremely difficult as it was, I want to go through that newborn phase. Like, I want to do all of that. And I'm at the point where I want to start planning for that. I want to start planning for that next one. I want to start planning for Lex to have a sibling. Like, I want to do that. I'm ready to do that now, and I can't. We're put on hold. And it's hard to know that this is going to be on hold for at least 6 months. Not to say that we couldn't go against the advice and try before he's done with the consolidation treatment, but I feel like it would be a lot harder than waiting, especially if I deal with the kind of morning sickness that I had with Lex and stuff like that. My first 16 weeks of my pregnancy, from like 4 weeks to 16 weeks, I was not super, super sick, but I was pretty sick. I was throwing up quite a bit, and to be dealing with that and chasing around a toddler without as much help as I might have if we wait, I think would be hard. But anyway, I will stop because